Welcome back, everybody. As I'm recording this, Hurricane Florence is headed for the East Coast and is a few days away. So that was sort of the impetus behind this, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking for this type of information right now. However, this information will be good in 2019, 2020. Some of the stuff may change, but the principles behind it will all be the same. So I'm going to go through sort of a checklist and some things to consider. I'm not going to list everything. At the end of the video, I will roll in some items you might want to look at that we didn't talk about, because I can't really get into everything because everyone's situation is different, which I think you'll understand here in just a second. So, all right, getting on with it, right? So what do you need for when a hurricane's coming? So if you own a home, of course, things to prepare your home, like boarding up the windows and all that stuff, moving any kind of small items that might fly away or become dangerous if they were launched in the air. Picking all that stuff up is important, but everyone's different there, so we'll kind of move on with that and get into the actual gear. So first priority, when you don't have power, when you don't have running water, when you don't have clean running water, is always going to be water, right? So that's the thing that will kill you faster than anything else if you do not have water. So all different ways to kind of think about this. Of course, whenever storms are coming, people always buy bottled water, which is fine. I don't recommend against that. Absolutely buy some bottled water. That's fine. If you don't have any, have some stores and just keep it throughout the year. It's not going to go bad. It's water, right? So that is good. However, you should also think about just things that you have around your house. So for anybody who lives in America, this might not be true in other parts of the world, but if you live in America, your tap water is consumable. It might not taste great. You might not like it, but from a survival standpoint, it's fine. So with that said, there's tons of awesome products where you can just store water. I brought some examples out just to kind of spur my memory, but like if you guys have any type of Camelback bladders or something like that are sitting around in a storage bin, fill them up before the storm hits. You can also purchase things that work in this way. The best one out there that I know of anyway, and that I recommend, that I have, inside just didn't bring out, is going to be the water bob. And then there's an aqua something, I can't remember, which is essentially the same product, but what it is it's a blivet that fits inside of a bathtub, and you fill it up with water before a storm comes, and they give you anywhere from 60 to 100 gallons of water that you can use as you see fit when you need it right after the storm. So 100 gallons of water is going to last you a long time. You can do a lot of things with it. Some of the things we'll get into here in just a second, but you can flush toilets, you can drink, you can wash dishes, you can do all of those sorts of things. You can wash your hands, which is important as well, as disease can be problematic. So those products are awesome, and they're relatively inexpensive. I should also point out that pretty much everything I talk about here, if possible, I'm going to link to down in the video description. Most of that's going to be on Amazon. Reason being, most folks shop on Amazon. And also, as I'm recording this, if you order them today and you have Prime, they'll be here before the storm. So that's convenient as well. So store water for sure in any way you can. If you have bottles, whatever the case may be, buckets that are sanitized, obviously, fill them with water before the storm comes, because that becomes paramount afterwards, okay? And that can help you avoid some of the things I'm about to talk about now. So I have just a few examples here of water filtration systems. So these things are really cool, and for anybody who's never used them, they're insane. They work insanely well, rather. So this is a Sawyer mini filter. This here is a Life Straw. This is an Aqua Marina product that is a water filtration device as well. But these, under normal conditions, will allow you to drink out of this lake. So I live on a lake. Obviously, many of you guys don't, but from any sort of fresh water source, you can drink directly from it, assuming you get something that filters out things that are in the water, right? So after a crazy hurricane, there can be chemicals in the water. Most of these aren't going to work on chemicals. Some of them work on viruses. Rarely in America, even in disasters, are there actually viruses in the water. But other parts of the world, that's absolutely a very real thing. So take a look at some of the different things that these filter out and decide what you think you're going to need. One that really is kind of a catch-all, in my opinion, is the Sawyers. They do really, really well. These other ones are very good. But the Sawyer kind of gives you a little bit more protection. And honestly, I don't think it's more than the other two, actually. So something to think about, right? There's other filter devices. There's Life Straw makes a really good one. It's a family one that you can hang up, and it uses gravity as well and holds much more water than you otherwise could with something like this. But yeah, no, there's tons of good ones there. So store up on water. All the water you have now that's running in your house that's clean, store it. And then hopefully you won't have to use these, but should you need to, these are good options as well. Food, right? So There's tons of good food products out there that are like designed for long-term storage. Wise Food, there's a bunch of them out there. So, if you guys want to pick that up, by all means do so. Those are good options. However, some of the old school stuff that's been working for 100 years, like canned food, that works really well also. So canned food will last a long time. It may not last as long as the specifically designed products for that. But, something like if you're a soup eater and you eat soup relatively often anyway, buy a little extra and then cycle through it throughout the year after whatever the disaster is that passes. Also, like meal replacement bars are very good. Again, a ton of different options out there for that. It doesn't have to be specifically prepper type of items, right? So lots of things work for that. Peanut butter is a very good one as well. So you have your water, you have your food. The next thing you want to think about is going to be medical. This is not the entire medical thing I'm going to reference, but it just, again, things to jog my mind. There's a lot of really good med kits out there. If you guys don't have anything right now, picking up, a pre-bundled kit may be a good idea, but a lot of folks are going to have the small stuff. So like Neosporin, antibacterial stuff for cuts, scrapes, Band-Aids. A lot of you guys already have that. So in the event that you don't have some of the more trauma-related things that definitely can happen after a storm, the things I recommend the most, the top two, I guess you could say, is going to be tourniquets, a good one, a cat, like we have here, or the soft T. Those are my personal preferences. A lot of folks like the rat tourniquet. That's fine. If that's your thing, that's cool. But the cat tourniquet and the soft T are awesome. And on that note, and it's going to apply to the next item I say as well, right now, while you still have power and YouTube is working, if you order something like this or purchase something like this, look at how it's done. Practice it on your family members, so that way, in the event that you need that skill and to implement this device, you know how to do it. So again, the two top devices that I would recommend are going to be tourniquets and some sort of chest sealant, right? Those are things that most people with very minimal medical education can help save someone's life long enough to get them to the hospital. Now, you can get really, really in the weeds about, NPAs and all kinds of other things to cut trachs and all that stuff. But you guys need classes for that. Most folks with minimal understanding can apply a tourniquet and stop somebody from bleeding out if they have a wound that would do that. Same thing for a chest seal. Most folks can do that with very, very minimal medical knowledge, and it really just could save someone's life around you in the event that you need it, in the event that first responders can't get to you for a long time, or you can't get to a trauma center for a long time, which absolutely can happen. So food, medical. Also on that note, if you guys have prescriptions that you rely on to stay alive, stock them up now. Most pharmacies, most doctors' offices will give you an additional prescription in the event of a declared emergency. So if that's the case, get an extra prescription so that way you can stay alive should things be down for a while, okay? So that's medical, food, water, medical. Power. Let's talk about power, right? There is a ton of different options here. Two that I didn't bring out simply because I don't have a lot of room right here around my little table are going to be generators, right? So I have two different generators. I have one generator that is a traditional type of generator that you wire into your house, and that will give you the electricity to run your house if you want to do that. The problem with that is that they go through fuel and oil very, very quickly, those whole house type generators. So after a storm, fuel might not be, number one, it might be bad fuel. Number two, it might not be available. Number three, you might not have a way to get to it. So having an option that's a little bit more fuel efficient is probably a good idea. So on that front, something that's like an inverter generator, which isn't going to power your whole house. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to happen. However, it will power like a room, small air conditioning unit, a refrigerator. Those are kind of the important things. It'll charge your computers, it'll charge your internet device. Those types of things it can do, and can do so for a very long period of time. And they're more fuel efficient, and they use less oil. They're quieter. Many of them are portable. So I'd take a look at that. So I have, I think it's a Wen, but take a look before you purchase one. Take a look at like your refrigerator, and if you have an AC unit you want to power as well, take a look at what that's going to draw in terms of energy, and make sure you purchase one that has enough output for that. It's going to really vary. A lot of these energy efficient refrigerators today do not take a lot of power, and a lot of these, smaller inverter generators will say they don't power a refrigerator. That's because they don't want people to come back and say, oh, my refrigerator from 1989 won't work with this generator. But in reality, most of the current production ones, it actually will power. So just take a look at it and do some research before you actually pick one of those up. But those really are probably the best type of generators for most folks, because powering an entire house, generally speaking, is simply inefficient energy wise. Now, some of you guys will have to do that because you have 10 kids or whatever the case may be. So again, take a look at what you have in terms of what your life is and what you're going to need, and plan accordingly. Another thing to think about is going to be these types of generators, which are sort of kind of generators and kind of battery packs at the same time. So this one here is from Goal Zero. They make these in all different sizes and all different capabilities. This is sort of like a smaller-ish one. You can actually pre-charge this by plugging it into the wall and pre-charge it while you still have electricity. However, afterwards, if you want, or rather if you don't have power and you need to use this type of system, it has a solar panel that you can purchase with it as well that plugs in and actually powers it off the sun. Depending on the amount of sun you have, it'll charge the whole thing in a day, and this thing will run USBs, small electronic devices that plug in. It will run it just fine, and they really work well, in my opinion. They're not super heavy. They're portable. If you want to use it camping afterwards, it's very good. Now, they have bigger ones. I think some of them that are the really large ones actually have like mobile hotspots and stuff like that. So they're very cool in terms of their capabilities. The stuff that Goal Zero puts out, again, we'll put links down below for that. But definitely take a look at that. Another thing, just for charging small electronics, is going to be some of the fold-out panels. Like Anchor, for example, makes really, really good ones. They're lightweight, and they will charge your phone, if you have like a mobile hotspot, something like that, or even a lot of computers, it will also charge as well. On that note, speaking of charging, if you guys have any sort of power banks, right, check those out. Make sure they're all charged up before the storm hits, because these will get you through a lot of, realistically, with my wife and I, we could probably use our phones for a couple of days just on these three here. On that note, one that I will specifically recommend, not that it's a super high power one. Now, you guys can buy, really high storage power power banks. None of these are that. These are actually all mobile ones that we plug into the wall because we kind of like that feature. The best amongst them, in my opinion, is this one here. It's the Anchor. I think it's like $30. It's a 500 or 5,000 rather capacity power bank. However, what's really cool about it is it plugs into the wall. It's super portable. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it can go anywhere with you. Now, these also all do that. However, in terms of ergonomics, they're not quite as good. This one's a RAV Power, and this one here is a Power River. But these two are the best, in my opinion. This one of all three is really, really good. So charge those up, though. That really is the key. They're not going to do you any good if you need them, and they're not charged. On that note, on charging note, any kind of power tools that you may rely on, whether it be a chainsaw, and for chainsaws, guys, you're going to want obviously a gas or a battery powered one. An electric chainsaw is probably not going to do you a lot of good. Now, if you have a generator that will power it, cool. If not, definitely take a look at some other options. Make sure your batteries, like this one here, I just charged up today. It's charged and good to go, and I have a backup for it as well should I need it. Yes, I know you guys out there are going to make fun of me for this. I actually have a full-size gas chainsaw, but I almost never use it because this thing does just about everything better, or just about everything that I need for it, and it's super lightweight, it's quiet, it's very easy to maintain, all of that stuff. So that is that. Additionally, next thing we're going to talk about is going to be lighting. Now, there's a plethora of options out there for this one, guys. As you guys can see, it's dark right now, and we actually just had a storm roll through, but ton of different options. A couple kind of good ones in different price ranges that I'd recommend is this one here. It's the Streamlight Lantern. Now, this thing has all different settings, and you can adjust the brightness however you want. It has its own internal battery, so you can charge it up, and it's a lithium battery, so you can charge it up. The power will run forever, especially on low, and this is really good. So like inside of a room, it gives you good situational awareness. This mode here, which my camera is probably drowning out, in a room at night, you can run this. I'll run the actual data in terms of battery life on low, but it's a long time with this one. So it's very cool in that regards. And then also, it's also sort of a power bank, just like these are. You can charge other devices out of it. So it's a very, very cool piece of kit. They make them in all different colors. I got the yellow because I don't view it as like a tactical item. I view it as a survival item. So in that regard, I want to see it in low light as best as possible. Another good one is going to be like these Streamlight. I picked 2 Streamlight lights just simply because that's what they had next to me. There's all kinds of good options. But the reason I picked this one is because it has the ability to take either an 18650 rechargeable battery or traditional lithium CR123As. And this one here is the Polytech. It's also programmable. So that way you can get anywhere from 600 down to I think like 50 lumens of light. So if you want to extend your battery, you can do so. If you want all that light at once to really see out, see what's around you, give you good situational awareness, you can do that as well. This one here is one that I actually have a video on the B channel. These lights here, they sell them for like 5 packs. They're always under 15 bucks. They take single A's, double A's or rechargeable double A's. And they're just for the money, they're so cheap. And they have 3 different modes, high, low, and then strobe. As you guys can see, that strobe mode can be important if you want to use it for a signaling device. It definitely gets people's attention in low light for sure. And again, the reason these I recommend is because they're so cheap. You can have a bunch of them around the house. And if everybody needs a flashlight to be able to move around at night, this is about the most efficient way you can do it in terms of cost for sure. So that is a good option. Another thing to talk about here is storage. So like if you guys don't have the money for generators or anything like that, one thing that a lot of people don't think about is that they have coolers, right? So if you have a cooler and you expect that your power will be out and the stuff in your refrigerator is gonna go bad, put as much of it in your cooler as you can. It will do a good job of insulating it. Throw some, what if you have ice packs and stuff like that left over, put it in there, and it should help save the food that you're gonna need after the power comes back on rather, or during the power outage. So definitely don't forget about that. Another item here, we're losing light. Hopefully the camera's keeping up with it and adjusting, but is a tarp, right? Tarps are useful for all kinds of things. They can gather water, but the main reason I think about it for hurricane preparedness is here a couple of years ago, we had a big hurricane come through and actually most of the houses around this lake, sections of the roofing came off on many of them. So if that's the case, you don't want to have to be relying on your flood insurance and a contractor in the short term, simply because after disasters, contractors tend to be in high demand. So don't plan on getting one. They might not be around for a while, so these tarps can patch those holes in the short term and keep your house from being completely destroyed, obviously by water running in, should it be there for a long time. Some storms stay on site for a couple days, so in that case it definitely can save your butt and save you a lot of money and a lot of damage that you just don't want to deal with for a really inexpensive item. So that's tarps. The last thing we're going to cover here, guys, and again I'm going to roll more in at the end so you guys can just different things to think about, but on that note, baby food. If you guys have kids, definitely who need specific food items, have that for them. If you have pets, have either enough human food for them, right? So like I have dogs, obviously, as you guys who watch the channel know, my dogs can eat any of this and they'll be just fine. However, having some extra dog food as well is a good idea because number one, that's what they're used to. Their systems are used to it. And then again, more stuff will be rolled in at the end. But on the last note I want to talk about is security, right? So a couple of years ago, and I have a video on this on the channel, guys, that you can see. A family member of mine came to me right after a hurricane, and basically where they lived, they had lawlessness. People were looting and people were breaking into people's houses. People were stealing cars. It was bad. This is in America. Immediately after a huge storm that came through, simply because law enforcement wasn't going out to calls. They put out publicly they were not going to respond to calls for about 24 hours, and they had a lot of crime problems. And my family member came to me and basically wanted to know what gun to get, right? That is a humongous question that really could be hours and hours of discussion. However, a couple thoughts on that, right? Number one, I recommend something that you can conceal. And again, many states, check your state laws, many states during states of emergency suspend concealed carry laws. So like if you, I know where I live, during a state of emergency, if you don't have a concealed carry license, during that state of emergency, you can conceal carry. Again, check your state laws. Every single state is different. I am not an attorney. But think about something that's concealable, right? So say there's an emergency and you need to go to Home Depot or whatever, and it's actually open and you can actually get there. Let's think all of that is possible. Well, guess who's also out there, right? criminals, because criminals love opportunity. They like to take advantage of people when they're at their lowest point. And you definitely want to have a means of protection if you should have to venture away from your home, right? So something concealable is definitely something I'd recommend. There's just way too many options for me to list. This is just a Smith & Wesson. I think this is a 638 if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. A 638, a little revolver that very reliable, very good gun. But there's, again, a plethora of good concealed carry stuff. Watch my channel. I got literally hundreds of videos on it. And then I would recommend something with a little higher capacity for your home. Again, it could be a pistol, it could be a shotgun, it could be a carbine like this, like an AR-15, very easy to shoot, really relatively inexpensive. As I'm filming this right now, you can get quality AR-15s. I mean, quality is a relative thing that you guys can talk about in the video description, but you can get like a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport, for example, which is a good gun. It's very proven. You can get those for under $600. And you can use it in all the disasters for the rest of your life. It'll last you a long, long, long time. So I definitely recommend getting something with a little bit higher capacity because criminals like to hunt in packs, right? If you take a look at any of the historical looting that you see or historical robberies that you see, it's very rarely one person. It's often many, and often trying to ambush you at once. So definitely having something with a little bit higher capacity, a little bit more lethality than some of the concealed carry options is probably a good idea. And I do recommend, however, you're going to set your system up, whether it be a pistol with a weapon light, a rifle with a weapon light like we have here, I recommend having some sort of light with you because as good people that we all are, if you're going to use a firearm in self-defense, it's your responsibility to know what you're shooting at. So in low light situations, which again is when criminals like to attack, you need to have a means to identify who that is that possibly is a threat to you and that they are a threat to you. You need to be able to see what's in their hands, things like that. So a light for those weapons is also something I'd recommend as well. But for example, this is a Palmetto State Armory, nitride freedom AR-15. It's ran awesome, and I think right now you can pick these up under $600, and they're very good guns for the money. That's really it, guys. I'm losing light, and this video is probably long enough, but I just wanted to give you some ideas of things to get. If you guys have any questions, by all means, post down below in the comment section. If you guys are looking for specific links that aren't in the video description, shoot me a message over on Facebook. I will get those to you guys. But that's pretty much it. Everybody stay safe out there. Good luck, and remember, this is not just for this hurricane. This applies for the rest of your life. So stay prepared, stay ready, and should you ever need any of this equipment, you will be very, very glad you have it. That's it, guys. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.